Welcome back to Practice Task 2, Sequence and Series. This is part 2 of this assessment-like task. In part 1, we had a look at Scheme A, and we figured out that the total for Scheme A, and we'll just jot it down here so we have it for later. The total was $1,150. So we'll keep that in mind at the end of this. Okay, now Scheme B. Glad you're watching, Jacob. So Becca could pay $350 for the handset, and she'd need to pay $39 for the first month. Okay, well, so we've got a new A. That's right here, the first month. A equals $39. Now, the monthly charge drops by 2% for each of the following months. Well, when they use percent, it means they're multiplying by a decimal percent. So that means that's their clue that it's a geometric sequence, not an arithmetic sequence like Scheme A was. So that means we're going to be looking at geometric general term for this first one. So we need an R, which is a common ratio, and that comes from this percent here. So if we start off with 100% and we drop it by 2%, I hope you'll agree that we're left with 98%. And 98% gives us an R, or a common ratio, of 0.98, because that's a decimal equivalent of 98%. All right, so we're ready to have a look at this first part of this problem here. Calculate our monthly charge for the 24th month. Well, that's the 24th term. So we're just going to plug in our A, our R, and our N into this geometric general term formula. So it starts out with A, that's 39, and then it's times R, that's 0.98, and that is raised to the power of N minus 1. Well, here's our N, 24, minus 1 is 23. So let's go to the calculator. 39 times 0.98 to the power of 23. That gives us $24. And if we round to dp, because we're talking about money, it would be $24.51. So our 24th term is $24.51. All right. Next bullet point. Calculate the total amount she will have paid in monthly charges in the 2-year period. All right, well, just like in part 1, what they want you to do here is add up the sum of all her payments over those 2 years. So that's where we're going to use this formula, sum of geometric sequence. Okay, we've got our A and our R and our N. We just got to plug them into S24. So that starts out with the A in the numerator right here. And then we've got 1 minus R, that's 0.98. And that is raised to the power of N, so that's to the 24th power. And that's all over 1 minus R, 1 minus 0.98. Okay, got some simplifying to do here. So we've got 39 times, well, let's find out what this 1 minus 0.98 to the 24th is. 1 minus 0.98 to the power of 24. That gives us 0.384. And I'm just going to leave it in the calculator there. I'm going to use that shortly. And in the denominator, we've got 1 minus 0.98, which just leaves us with 0.02. So if I take our 0.384 and times that by 39, that gives us 14.98, and then we can divide that by 0.02, and we'll have our answer for the 24th, the sum of the 24 terms. So that's S24 equals 749, and that's going to round up to 23, and that's dollars. Great. Okay, and just like in part 1, what's the total that you're going to pay? Okay, so we're going to take that $749.23, and we're going to add it to this initial charge for the handset, which is $350. Let's see what we got there. Plus $350. That gives us $1099.23. So that's our total for Scheme B. $1,099.23. Great. So now they're asking which scheme would you recommend and why? Okay, Scheme A, we saw from part 1, was $11.50. Scheme B is $10.99. So Scheme B is cheaper. Let's see by how much. Now just ignore this negative sign since I've done them in the opposite order. That's okay. But the difference between them is $50.77. So which scheme would you recommend and why? Well, I'm going to say I recommend Scheme B. And why? Because it is $50.77 cheaper. We better clarify and say over 2 years. And that's my answer to that first part of this assessment. So if you turn into part 3, we'll have a look at the Scheme A follow-up question. And I thank you guys for watching.